everyone. Thanks for joining in. We'll get started in a minute while others join. By the way, if you're joining this for the first time, first and foremost, a warm welcome to you. What we do here in this Nightwatch Release walkthrough is we show you the latest updates and releases in action. And if you have worked on something interesting around Nightwatch and you'd like to showcase it, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to include you in our subsequent release walkthroughs. I guess most of the people have started coming in, so let's get started. My name is Nimish, and I'll be your host for today's event. I have been a part of BrowserStack's product marketing team for 3.5 years, and I have worked with our visual and automated testing products in the past. I'd also like to introduce our panelists today. We have Ravi with us, who's a senior software engineer at Nightwatch. And Ravi has built a lot of exciting features for us. And we also have Vishal with us. Vishal is the man who steers our ship, our product manager for the Nightwatch project. And let's move on to the agenda. We have a packed one today. We'll start off with component testing, how you could do component testing with Storybook and React. We'll also show you accessibility testing with for components. And then we'll talk about our new Nightwatch website, big exciting update there. We'll quickly cover default parallelism for your tests. And then we'll talk about a few updates that we have shipped in our previous releases in case you missed them. And then we'll end with Q&A. With that said, let's get started with component testing. Over to you, Ravi.
Yeah. Thanks, Nimish. 1 second, I'll share my screen. Is the screen visible right now?
Yes, we can see you.
Yeah, so recently we built a Nightwatch Storybook plugin. So Storybook has been an important library around component, UI components. It has been used widely. So what Storybook does is it allows users to test out UI components in isolation, interact with those components, and build stories. So what stories essentially is, it's a permutation. If you look at it, it's a permutation of all the properties that you give to UI components and how that UI components behave, look, and feel with that properties. So you can add certain properties to your UI component and look at the UI component, how it look, how it feels, how you can interact with them. So in this session, I wanted to focus on how you can extend your Storybook plugin from a documentation tool to a fully blown automated component test. How can add component test with the help of Storybook interactions and using Nightwatch APIs. So let's jump on to a simple demo. So in this demo, what I wanted to use is a to-do app. And for this to-do app, we have a small component. As you can see over here, there's a form component. Now we have two states for it. I have built two states for it. First state is we have some input, and you can see the add button is enabled over here. But it can be in the second state where there is no input. It's completely blank, and there's the add button over here is disabled. So we have two stories for it. Let me jump into the project and share how the storybook looks for these two stories. So I have the project set up to save time, but you can refer to the Nightwatch documentation to set up the whole project with Storybook. So if we check out the form stories over here, you can see I have two stories over here. First is
Hey, Ravi, by the
sorry
way,
to break down. Is
your
the
screen is not
visible?
shared, by the way.
Yeah, 1 second. I'll share it again. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I was showing is there are two stories over here. You can see there is an empty form story and it has nothing like just an empty form without any arguments, and second one is a filled form. So let's actually first look at how the story plugin renders this. So if I go to this, let me just refresh this. So I already have Storybook running in a terminal. So if you can see, there is an empty form story and there is a filled form for a form component. If if you observe in the filled form component, there is also an interaction that I have added. And what that interaction does is types these keywords into this. Now let's jump back to the project. So after the interactions, what I need to perform is add in assertions. I want to assert that the add button in an empty form should be disabled and the in a filled form it should be enabled. So here Nightwatch comes into the picture. You can use this test function over here to add in assertions, and you can use the same easy to use Nightwatch APIs to add in assertions. So in the empty form, what I'm checking is the component visible? And in the second line, what I'm checking is the button enabled, is the button disabled? Because for an empty form, it should be disabled. Similarly, you can see there is a play function for you to write an interaction. And similarly, we have a test function. For the filled form, what I'm checking is, first of all, the component should be visible. The input inside that form should have the keywords that I have provided in interaction that should be visible, and the button should be enabled. So let's see this test in action. I'm going to run it against Chrome. Yeah. So here you can see there are three assertions that has been passed. The component, the empty form component was visible, then and it was not enabled, the button was not enabled. And similarly for the filled form, there are three assertions, actually four assertions. One is for if the component is rendered successfully, and second one for the visibility, third one for the input, and the fourth one if the button is enabled or not. Let's jump back to the slides. Okay, so as part of this release, what if the projects are not using Storybook? So we do have older way of writing React component tests, but in this release, we also added a newer way to write React, uh, to write component test using the same old React plugin in the component story format. So it's pretty much similar, but you just don't need Storybook plugin. So if I head over to the project, so here's the project. It's all the components are similar. The project is similar. And if you see the test, I'm nowhere using Storybook, but it has the functionality of play function to define interactions, as well as it has a test functions, which you can use in a similar way that you were using before in a Storybook plugin. So we call it this a component story format test. So let's run this actually. So we have similar tests for this as well. So in an empty form, we are checking if the component is visible and button is disabled. And similarly, we have same test for filled form as well. Let's run this. Okay, so there is a failure. Okay, let's look at the failure. As a tester, I would love something to fail, but as a developer, I also need to solve it. So over here, it says that it expected the button to be disabled, but it got enabled actually. So let's jump back to the project and let's look at the form component. So as you can see, we have no logic for disabling this button. So let's add it over here. So if the name field in the input is present, I don't want the component to be disabled, else I want it to be disabled. Let's run this test again. Yeah, all the tests have passed now. So we have successfully uh, passed the test, fixed the component. Let's again jump back to the slides. So accessibility testing for component. So in one of our previous sessions, David Mello covered how important is accessibility testing. So in this session, I'm not going to focus on that, but I'm going to actually show how can you add accessibility test to your components. So I'm going to use the same project, and over here, if you see this part of commented code, let me uncomment it. You can add in parameters and you can define all the rules that you want, like all the rules that you need to test it against. So I've used, there are 5 rules in total, and what all the other elements in this configuration is. So by default, if you see, Nightwatch would only report test failures while doing accessibility testing because it gets too verbose, and reports should be concise to tell you where is the failure, where is the actual failure. So by default, I'm going to keep it false, and there is actual intentional failure over here. So let's run this. Yeah. So over here, you can see there is an assertion failure for the region rule, and it also shows you the link where you can head over and check the rule, what's the description of that rule. So this is the way how you can add accessibility testing to your stories, and it would test it against every story you have defined. So, yeah. So that's it from my side, I think.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Ravi. I think Nightwatch was one of the few frameworks who started supporting a few end-to-end frameworks that started supporting component testing first. And with this update, like we've made our component testing support from present to back, top in class again. So great job there. Cool. We'll now see updates to our new website. We felt that our project has seen a lot of new updates in the past, and it was time for our website to also keep up with them. So we have Vishal with us who will walk us through what we've changed in our website.
Thanks, Nimish. I'll just share my screen. Right. Hey, everyone. So very recently, we released a new version of our website with a completely new and modern look and feel. Uh, More importantly, we have made some functional changes as well, so that your job to navigate through the website and do particular tasks becomes easier. So I'll just jump onto the website and just show it to you. So the first big change that we have done is we have made getting started with Nightwatch as fast as we could. So you just have to copy paste the command from your into your terminal, and you can get up and running in less than 60 seconds. And this would install Nightwatch along with all the drivers. So you would really not have to install anything post that to get started. The second big thing is we have added a lot of support and documentation for integrating with your favorite third-party solutions or tools that you would be using. across different categories. So you can run Nightwatch using your favorite test runner, or you can view your results in your favorite reporters. You can learn how to run uh, your Nightwatch tests on CI pipelines or CI tools, and also you can see how to run your tests on cloud providers such as BrowStack and Sauce Labs. Uh, Moving on to the guide section, we have revamped the structure of the guide section so that it becomes much more easier for you all to navigate through the content, and also we've improved on the search aspect so that you can reach the content you're looking for much faster. And last but not the least, we are actively seeking feedback on our documentation. So we've added a survey as well to the website. So in case you all feel something is missing in the documentation, or if something is not working as expected, please feel free to leave comments in the survey so that we can improve on our documentation even further. So that was pretty much it on the website front. We'll move on to the next section, which is parallelism. So at Nightwatch, we are constantly striving to make our users' lives easier, right? And with that, we have made a conscious call that all the tests on Nightwatch will by default be run in parallel, right? Of course, there would be a way for you to disable the parallel runs, and I'll be showing that as part of our demo. And more importantly, and this is a big functionality that we have added very recently, and that is you'll be able to run in parallel while also running in parallel across multiple browsers, multiple environments, as we call it in Nightwatch. So don't want to keep you all waiting any longer. So we'll jump on to the demo next. So I've set up this project using the simple npm init Nightwatch command, and it comes with the basic tests, example tests out of the box under this Nightwatch folder. So what we'll do is we'll run the basic tests. So these three tests will now be run, and as you can see, as you can see, it opened up three browsers in parallel. I'll probably rerun it. You might have missed it because I was in full screen mode. So when I run this test, as you can see, three browsers are opened up and all the three tests are running in parallel without you having to do any kind of configuration. The way it works is Nightwatch Runner has the capability to spawn as many worker threads as many cores on your machine. So my machine is 8 cores, so it can support up to 8 worker threads. Next, we'll see. So if you don't want to run your tests in parallel and you want your test to run sequentially, just simply have to add this flag, which is -- serial. And as you can see now, all the three tests will run one by one. Right. Next, what we'll see is how can you run your tests, all three tests in parallel on Chrome as well as on Firefox together. So the way we do it in Nightwatch is we give this additional parameters --n, and we just say that, okay, run on Chrome and Firefox together. So as you can see over here, 6 worker threads are spawned together, and 3 of them are Chrome and 3 of them are Firefox. So this is actually pretty cool that you can run on multiple browsers. And along with that, you can also run your tests in parallel. This will save a ton of time for you and improve your productivity a lot. So yeah, hope you all like this functionality, and please feel free to give it a try and get back to us if there are to find any issues or have any suggestions. That's it from my end.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Vishal. It was great to see all those threads running in parallel. Uh, cool. I'll share my screen again. Right. What we saw were the updates that we shipped in this release 2.4.0. But in case you missed it, here are some of the cool updates that we have launched in the past that help you do more with Nightwatch. The first is our VS Code extension. This has been seeing great adoption recently. And what you can do basically is you can run your test directly from VS Code now without having to switch context for running and debugging your text. Uh, the other thing that we have done is, I think Vishal showed it. We have added new integrations. We have improved our old integrations. So if you use either of these tools in your stack, do check out these new integrations. And lastly, our Chrome recorder. So basically what you can do is, instead of writing your test, if you wanted to record your test, you could just go to Chrome DevTools, start performing the actions and record the test, and then export it as a Nightwatch test script. So it just simplifies the entire process of writing your test scripts. All right, let's move on to what's coming in our next releases. We have David with us who will walk us through what's coming.
Thanks, Nimish. As you've seen, we've got a lot of things that we have been doing, and so we're not going to let up until we get a lot more of the features that people are asking us for or we think are needed. The first one is a mobile helper. If you've created a project recently using the Create Nightwatch project, so npm init Nightwatch, you would have seen how it kind of sets up your project, gives you a bunch of examples, things like that. The mobile helper is a similar tool, but for getting your mobile environment set up into the right shape. So it'll make sure that any SDKs or we have an image that you can use, and you can start testing on mobile. So if you wanted to start kind of expanding your test suite so that you could do, say, more component testing, but on mobile, the mobile helper will give you support for that. Next, we're kind of branching out into supporting people to run Nightwatch in monorepos. So for those who don't know, a monorepo is a large repository that has like multiple projects in it, and normally you can kind of just run a single command and it'll figure out how to run your tests for you. So we've added support, we'll be adding support for NX, which is one of the kind of major ones for the JavaScript community. And that will hopefully be up in the registry shortly. So if you need any help, please do message me on Discord to kind of get started with that. Next, we have our HTML reporter. So with Nightwatch 2, we released a new reporter, and we got really good adoption for it. We've been looking at how people have been using it and getting some feedback, and so we've taken all of that feedback and are slowly working towards a version 2 of that reporter. This will give you more data, so if you're using a cloud provider, you normally get a lot more information than if you were using the standard Nightwatch reporter. So we're trying to move some of that data that you would be getting, say, from a cloud provider into your local tests, so that you can get them from within your CI. So it'll just be an asset that is released with your CI. And finally, support for visual regression testing. We've seen there is a community plugin that's been in the community for a while, but while a lot of people wanted to use it, it didn't have the support. So the Nightwatch project has now taken is taking over one of the kind of key visual regression testing tools and making it a first-class citizen within Nightwatch in the same way that we did with accessibility a few releases ago. So you'll be able to get your basic visual regression testing done. If you need some smarter testing, kind of the way a lot of companies do that is unfortunately they use extra computing power asynchronous to your tests. So we won't be able to solve everything, but hopefully we'll be able to get you most of the way and then kind of see what we can do further. So that will be hopefully coming out within the next kind of few weeks. The team have been working brilliantly on that to get it all out for us. And so this is just kind of a flavor of some of the work that's coming out very, very shortly.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, David. I'm especially excited for the mobile helper. I've seen it in action and super excited to show it in the next release walkthrough. Cool. Let's move on to Q&A. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A section in Zoom itself. Your questions could be about this release, previous releases, what's coming next, anything about Nightwatch. Feel free to share your questions with us. Sure, yeah. Cool. I think one question we have is around component testing in parallel. Ravi, Vishal, either of you, like, can you also do component testing in parallel with Nightwatch?
Yes.
Yes.
Got it.
Same way your endpoint tests run in parallel, your component tests will also run in parallel.
Got it. The other question was around how many parallels are spawned by default. Vishal, perhaps you could answer that one.
Sure. So we've taken care to ensure that your machine doesn't blow up while running tests in parallel. So the call that we have taken is we will spawn as many threads as the number of cores on your machine. That's by default. So we don't want to put any more load on the machine beyond that.
Got it. Cool. I guess the next question is around debugging components. Ravi, I guess you can take that one. Like, if you were to do debugging for your components, how would you go about that?
There's actually a CLI flag that you can use --preview that would stop the, like, it will mount the component and stop you for you to inspect the components when we mount it on the browser. And there are a few other methods as well. You can add in breakpoints in play function. And there's also a documentation. Do check it out on Nightwatch.js, how to debug components. There's a whole blown documentation for it.
Got it. Cool. I guess there are a couple more. This one's from David Mello. Will anything be done in VRT to ensure like results between computers running the tests on a team? Yes, David can take that one. David Burns.
This is something that we're looking at, and it's something that we're going to try our best. The way we're probably going to try and encourage people to do some of this stuff is to move to component testing, which will hopefully get away from, make your tests faster, but then also set a better baseline for VRT. So that kind of leads to your second question of differences being polluted by different operating systems. So it's part of what we're looking into, and hopefully we can give you a better answer in the next couple of weeks.
Cool. The other support, again, I guess this one's for you, David. Will TypeScript support be added for custom commands and assertions?
This is something we are definitely looking into at the moment. The team is kind of working feverishly on a number of little projects, and so this one is kind of next in, hopefully be next that we can look into, because I know that there is a big request for things like this on Discord from a number of users. So it is high up on my list of kind of having a look at and doing a bit of investigation. And so hopefully in the next couple of weeks, Vishal and I will be able again to give you a better answer around this one. Hopefully it should be fairly simple, but we'll try kind of get a better answer to you later.
Great. Cool. I guess that's it. I think we are exactly on time. Thanks everyone for joining the event, the Nightwatch release walkthrough. We'll meet you soon with the next set of releases. And a huge shout out to Vishal, Ravi, and David. Thanks a lot for joining us. And before you go, a small suggestion: if you have any doubts or ideas, you can come discuss them with us on our Discord server. And if you face any issues, please raise them on GitHub. And finally, if you want a monthly update on what we have shipped in the Nightwatch project, please subscribe to our Substack and we'll send you a summary once a month. That's it in your inbox. That's it from us. Thanks again for joining and have a great week ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone.